You, on your left, down this channel, you viewed another beaver dam, similar to the one behind you. And I wonder if you have any thoughts about why those dams exist where they are located.
Such a good question. Every time I try to read a beaver's mind, I get myself in trouble. But beavers are opportunistic, so they do build dams in locations that are easy for them to build dams and easy to back up water, right? They want this water to be expansive. It gives them better access to food. It gives them better access to be safe from predators. They're much more quick and agile in the water than they are on land. So the more wetted area that there is, the happier they are. So beavers will often build at constriction points. They'll build where a log has already fallen. They'll build at a culvert, right? These are places where the stream gets narrow and it's easy to build. They'll also often build in places where other streams come in because they can back water up in multiple directions. So these are kind of things I look for and often things that cue beavers to build. That being said, beavers often build multiple dams as well. And so we do see these dams in series to give them, again, better access to more food, more space to live, more travel pathways through their territory. So hard to say exactly why beavers built here, but those are some reasons generally why they might build where they do.
Just one more question.
Perfect.
It's kind of a top secret question.
Great.
Looking around the habitat and everything you've seen, where do you suppose beavers might be lodging in this system?
Yeah, so hard to say. I think, beavers are typically living within one of the ponds that they build, right? So these dams that they build are not their home structure. These dams are built to create big ponded areas like we talked about. So they'll often build their lodge upstream of one of those dams in one of these ponded areas. In the Pacific Northwest, we don't always see them building lodges. Lodges are kind of that typical hut that you might see in the middle of a big pond that beavers live inside of. Sometimes that happens here. I think in a narrow system like this, a narrow stream, even with these dams, we're not seeing these expansive, huge ponds. It's likely that they are denning within a bank. So they'll sometimes burrow into a bank and have kind of an underground den. Or they might kind of do a combo, burrow in and then throw some sticks on top. So you might see what we call a bank lodge, where that, hut structure, instead of being in the middle of a pond, is up against a bank. So my guess is if we were to start trekking upstream of here, I'd be looking out for that kind of pile of sticks along the edge of a bank. I'd also just be looking for a lot of beaver chew nearby. Sometimes they will haul out and chew sticks kind of close to their lodge. So if you find a lot of little sticks near an area, that's where I'd kind of start looking for, the beaver den. But those bank dens are really hard to find. So even if we were to trek up here and didn't see anything that looks like a traditional lodge, we know they're still here. We know they're living here. They just are being a little secretive.
We're wondering if you have any thoughts on whether we can expect beavers here to expand their territory in Edmonds.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Beavers are territorial. So the beavers that are living here are not going to allow other beavers to move into this area. Those territories are a little bit variable, but typically, we can assume within a half mile, we're not going to see another beaver, half-mile stretch of stream. But that being said, if this beaver has a mate, they typically live in family groups. So they're territorial, really denning down with that family group. It'll usually be a mated pair of beavers. They'll have 1 to 3 kits every year, and those kits stay with them until they're 2 years old. So those 2-year-old kits then get kicked out and have to find somewhere else to live. And that's where we might see other beavers trying to find homes around this marsh or around Edmonds, is that they're gonna most often start going up or downstream from where their parents' home is and try to find a place to live. Barring that, they might actually head overland and try to find somewhere else to live. So we can kind of anticipate anything that is hydrologically connected to here may see beavers. Probably already has, right? We don't know how long these beavers have been here, but my guess is it's been a little while. And so, we may see beavers kind of moving throughout Edmonds, but they also might head out to the Sound and be off on their way. So we do know that beavers will travel through the salt water to get to new places. So hard to say, but I think for sure you are likely to see beavers anywhere in the Puget Sound, especially if you have really good beaver habitat.
What time of year might we expect to see small beavers come over the dam here?
Yeah, so beavers are typically born in late winter, early spring, and then they emerge from their lodges shortly after that. So we typically start seeing the baby beavers outside of their lodge between May and June. And so that's when you might see the littlest beavers, but then they stay with their family again until they're 2 years old. So throughout the summer is likely when you would see kind of those growing beaver kits. And then by, next summer, they'll be big enough that it's maybe hard to tell that they're not an adult. But we still kind of think of them as sub-adults at that point.
Wow, thank you very much, Elyssa. That was really a wonderful bunch of information. And it's a good demonstration, boys and girls, of why it's so useful to get your information from a knowledgeable expert. So thank you again.